Thank you, Rosalind. Hello, everybody. Hey, applause. You're making me happy. That's good. That's good. Applause before I've even started. Thank you. I think we've still got a lot of people coming into the room, so I'm just going to start slowly and then people will come in. So my name's Tobias Gould, and I'm one of the founders of Jerry Bottle, along with my colleague Haroon. Haroon is on this side of the room. Stand up, Haroon. Give everyone a wave. Haroon Master. Hooray. He's got an applause. He's not even done anything yet. That's great. So I'm here today to talk about social responsibility. And I think we've just had a really great presentation there from Beck on how much goodness you can build into a cup. So that's really useful for me, because I now don't need to explain too much about what a social enterprise is and how you can achieve social good with a social enterprise. So I'm a social entrepreneur myself, one of the founders of Jerry Bottle. I've also been a business advisor for 5 years in Leicester in the United Kingdom. So I had a chance of working with lots of social enterprises there. So I'm going to be using that experience today to talk to you. And before I start, I just want to find out the types of people that we've got in the room. So can I have hands up, please, if you are already running a social enterprise? So you've launched a social enterprise and it's running right now. Hands up. That's great. So there's some people here that are already doing it. Hands up if you would like to run a social enterprise. So again, quite a few people. Have we got people who are a bit like me, business advisors who are helping other people to set up social enterprises? Yeah, quite a few. And then have we got any local government people, local council people? No? So no local council people in the room. Okay, cool. Well, that gives me a sense of who's in the room, so that's always useful. I just get the clicker. Social responsibility, when you think about it, it can sound like a really big thing. If you were the person that was responsible for social responsibility across the whole of Malaysia, that would be a really big job. But when you bring social responsibility down to its individual level, social responsibility is very simple. So if you think about it at the level of having a neighbor who is maybe a bit elderly and can't get out into their garden to keep their garden looking nice, then we can see that social responsibility might be just helping a neighbor out. And that might seem like, you know, the consequences, the impact of doing that can have quite high social and economic benefits. If somebody, it might be that they have a landlord, that it's a requirement of their lease that they should keep their garden nice, and you get older, and if you don't keep that garden nice, then maybe you're going to get thrown out of your own home. It might be that you're an elderly person and you really enjoy being in the garden, and it's part of it keeps your mental health good. So again, the social impact of you helping them out can have both an economic impact and a social impact as well. So social responsibility can seem really big, but also it can be really easy. There was a case a few years ago of somebody who was coming out in the middle of the night and repairing benches. So you may go to your local park and you have wooden benches, and this person had noticed that the wooden benches in their area, the local council wasn't repairing them. So they didn't ask anybody, they just came out in the middle of the night, they removed the old bits of wood that had become rotten, and they replaced them, and they painted them. So in the middle of the night, when everyone else was asleep, this ninja was coming out and repairing benches. Now, it's quite a good thing, you can imagine. That is saving other people lots of money. But also, you come across barriers when you're trying to do social good. There'll be somebody that is responsible for health and safety that will say, well, hang on, is the wood good enough quality? Is this person qualified to repair benches? Will this person injure themselves repairing benches? So there's always lots of reasons for not doing social good. But occasionally we can use ninja tactics to get out there in the middle of the night and repair benches. Who thinks that's a good idea? Ninja tactics for social good. Yay, 3 people, that's fantastic. Back in 2010, in the UK, we had a new Prime Minister called David Cameron, and he brought out something called Big Society. And he said to people, what big society is, it's the opposite of big government. So big government is where your government does everything for you. They are the ones that repair the benches. They are the ones that make sure that old people have all their social care needs met. But he knew that he had to save some money. And he wanted to create a society where everybody took responsibility, and he was willing to give people new powers. And he used a very big political term called devolution. He was going to devolve powers to the people so that everybody could become ninja bench repairers. Nobody really understood big society. He tried to explain it a few times, and people didn't understand it, and so he stopped talking about it. It was still something he cared about. He still wanted to create more responsibility, but he realized that he couldn't carry on using that as a policy. It was my job to deliver it at that time. So for 5 years in Leicester, which is in the middle of the United Kingdom, in a city of Leicester, it was my responsibility to encourage the community to meet their own social needs through entrepreneurial means. When I spoke to people about big society, there was a lot of hostility. A lot of charities would say, well, hang on a minute, they've just got less money, they want something for nothing. So you can be pessimistic and you can come at it from that angle. Charities in the UK also said, well, hang on a minute, we've been doing this for years. We've been helping people meet people's social needs without asking the government for money for years. We're already doing this. So there was quite a lot of resistance. I felt that I could do it. I felt that as a business advisor, we have the lean startup theory. We had that presentation this morning which showed the business model canvas. And we have this whole approach of designing new great business models, creating minimum viable products quickly, moving into, really cheap prototypes at first, finding out if you can sell them, and then doing your customer development. So we've got the tools to do social enterprise, to create social businesses really quickly and without much cost. So I felt that I had the magic wand to deliver this. So for 5 years, I was meeting with people who were interested. And the experience that I'm going to share with you is that for most people, I think my job was a waste of time. Not everybody is an entrepreneur, and it's really interesting meeting people who are entrepreneurs. Often they're quite manic people. They're people with huge amounts of confidence, and they want to make things happen. And actually, in my team, Haroon is the entrepreneur, and you know, I'm actually a different kind of person. Not everybody is an entrepreneur. So I worked with a lot of people who weren't entrepreneurs. So in the keynote speech this morning, they talked about today. Let's do things today, not tomorrow. I worked with an awful lot of people that were planning to do something tomorrow. And I call those people business tourists. So they were interested in business, but actually they're never going to actually do anything. So I work with a lot of people that were interested, but they weren't doers. I'm going to share with you today 5 case studies, might be 4 case studies of social enterprises that did do something in Leicester. But the amount of people that I work with, I would have worked with hundreds and hundreds of people. Most of them didn't do anything. So I'm going to share with you the case studies of people that actually did anything, did something. And we've had already a great case study this morning, hearing about how much good you can get out of a cup of coffee. Despite the fact that most people that I work with were business tourists, I believe that social enterprise is really great. I believe that every business should be a social enterprise. And these are my reasons for why social enterprise is great and why all businesses should become social enterprises. So number 1, customers need a reason to buy from you. In the modern age, customers are media-savvy people. They can have a look at what you're selling. They can research what else is out there, who else is doing it. They don't have to buy from you. They can buy from anyone. So if you're doing something great, if you are creating social impact, if you're giving young people jobs, or helping people with learning disabilities to get more confidence. If you're doing something great, that's inspirational, and that will be a reason for people to come to you. For your customer to come to you, they really need to have an emotional connection. Purchasing something is a gut reaction. You have to have a reason why. And there's a great video on YouTube, one of the TED lectures, Simon Sinek's Why. Hands up for who's seen Simon Sinek Why video? 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, okay, so please do have a look at that. It's a fantastic video showing you how important it is to have a reason for being in business. All social enterprises have that built in, and that's an advantage. A lot of people talk about doing social good, a lot of the big brands, but they're not doing it for real. Some of the big corporations, they're making millions and millions of pounds. They divert, under 1% sometimes into a trust fund, or they just do a small bit of their business which is for social good. So I think it's important that your values have to be for real. I think the customers can sense that. And again, that's another reason why it's a good thing to be a social enterprise. If you're a social enterprise, people will help you. They will come out of the woodwork and they will help you. If you go to someone and say, actually, I'm one of your competitors and I'm running another business, but I wondered if you could just give me some tips. They would say, no way, I'm not helping you. I'm not going to share my business intelligence with you. But when you're a social enterprise, they want to help you. They've got a better reason for helping you out. People club together. So social enterprise is the best vehicle for creating partnerships and making those things happen. Another advantage of being a social enterprise is people will help you out with money. So it's not just their time that they'll donate to you, but it might be their money. It might be things that they can donate to you. So sometimes when you're a social enterprise, you can go to a local business that sells TVs, and you can say, could you give us a TV and we'll use it for a raffle? And that will be, or a prize, because we're doing some publicity. People will give you things to give away, which will help you build your business. A reason here that it's good to do good. So, you know, good is a means in itself. And I really don't think that the shareholders need all those profits. So all businesses, or most businesses, are run for the benefit of shareholders. You only need so much money in life. I think it would be amazing if some of these big organizations started using their profits for social good. Through this session, I'm going to be asking you to take individual responsibility today. So handed out on your table are 2 sheets of paper. One sheet of paper looks like this. So if you can get that in front of you. So I'd like everybody to think about a social problem that you care about. And I want you to put that in the center of the page, in the circle. Now, there might be all sorts of problems in your community that you are aware of. People who have needs that aren't being met. People who are in pain and suffering. So have a think about something that you really care about and want to make a difference about. Once you've got that, ask yourself, how important is that to you? If on a scale of 1 to 10, that from where 1 is of low importance to 10 being high importance, if that is under a 7, then your reason for doing it isn't strong enough. So it's really important that the problem that you choose today and put in the center of the page is something that you really care about and you want to make a difference about. As we go through the case studies, I'll be telling you stories about these other social enterprises, and we'll be talking about these aspects that are around the circle. There'll be all sorts of things to solve that problem. There'll be all sorts of things that you can sell to make a difference. I'll be telling you the stories about leaders who have made these entrepreneurs that have made these social enterprises happen in the UK. I'm giving you today the freedom to choose anybody you like to be your leader for this social enterprise. So this is blue sky thinking. The rational rules don't apply, and you can choose anybody, alive or dead, famous, from a different country, it doesn't matter. I'm allowing you to choose any leader you like to put in to create the perfect social enterprise. So what we're going to be doing is we're building a social enterprise today on this sheet in a similar way to people when they put together the perfect boy band or girl band. So we're putting together the perfect band today, to run this social enterprise. Every social enterprise needs a donor, someone who's willing to donate some money at the beginning to get it all kick-started. And using the business model canvas, we know that you don't have to deliver all the key resources and key activities yourself. You can have partners that do that for you. So I'm giving you, again, the freedom to choose any partner. It doesn't matter if it's a big company. You can have any partner you like to solve your business problem, the social problem. Similarly, I'm going to give you the license to choose any salesperson to make this business work. So as we go through the session, I want you to scribble any ideas you have around how it's going to be sold, who's going to lead it, who could donate to it. I want you to, throughout the session, be scribbling on this piece of paper. So by the end of the session, I'd like to see those sheets of paper completely covered in scribble. You do not have to be neat, okay? You can make a mess. So that's the task that we'll do through the session. And then at the end of the session, I'll ask you how that went. And we'll get some people up here sharing their social enterprises that they've built. So this is the first case study that I wanted to share with you all about. This is a lady called Cynthia Gannis-Panchen, the lady on the right of the screen there. She runs a charity in Leicester called the Cynthia Gannis-Panchen Trust, and that is a charity that looks after vulnerable women, women who are disadvantaged because of the circumstances of their life. So they might be very poor, not have enough money, they might have experienced domestic violence, they might have disabilities. She specializes in disadvantaged women with her charity. She set up a social enterprise called Tomorrow Together, and that social enterprise provides 3 services: cleaning, leafleting, and catering. So at one point, she was running 3 cafes and employing, over 15 people in those cafes. So the thing about Cynthia that I want to share with you is that she's a bit like, when you're playing with a dog and they've got a toy, and the dog has got the toy in its mouth, and you're trying to get that toy out of the dog's mouth. Some people shaking their head. Sometimes, the dog will not let go. So Cynthia is someone who will not let go the fact that she is there to create employment opportunities for the disadvantaged women she works with. So whenever she comes to a conference like this, she would never leave the building without asking, who does your cleaning? Who's got the cleaning contract for this building? And then she would go and meet that person, and she would say, we should be providing your cleaning. And she has so much passion, she's able to communicate that the cleaning would be done just as good, if not better. They might even be able to do it for a cheaper price, but they would be able to deliver loads of social impact because they'd be giving people real employment opportunities, more training, and more help, helping disadvantaged people get into work. So there's something about the entrepreneur, that person that's driven, absolutely driven. And when opportunities cross their path, they make sure that they take full advantage of it. So the problem that Cynthia is solving is that when you come from a disadvantaged community or disadvantaged background, you have very low confidence. Often your skills are very low, and that means that you can't get into employment. And employment can be really good for your health. So it's a really good thing to be able to get into employment, but you are barred, you are excluded from employment because you're disadvantaged. So that's the problem that she's solving. The solution is the cleaning, catering and leafleting services. And I'm saying that the success factor here is that this is someone who was driven and is constantly creating opportunities for her business, pushing herself into people's faces and saying, let us do your leafleting, let us do your cleaning. Now, this is another social enterprise from Leicester, so I've just got 4 of these, so this is number 2. This one is from the Saffron Neighbourhood Council, which is a local organisation in Leicester that provides people with welfare advice. So welfare advice is all about how to claim benefits. Now, this is the type of organisation who's been reliant on grant funding and funding from the local government, the local council in the past. But a lot of that funding is disappearing in the UK, and it's been important for organisations to diversify their charities to include trading. This is one of the few charities that I ever worked with that really did something. So there's 2 things that they've did that I'm able to share with you. One is they started making jam for a local supermarket. So they spoke to a local supermarket who came to see they had an allotment, a small farm that they were running, and they said, the supermarket said, we'd like you to send some of this produce to us. What could you send to us? And they came up with the idea of jam. And you've got there in the bottom left a picture of a group of people with learning disabilities who have been involved in making jam, and that's being sold in one of the country's leading supermarkets in the UK. So this is a real success story. The benefits for the people with learning disabilities is that often, they wouldn't be given jobs. Because of their disabilities, they wouldn't be given jobs. Whereas with this, they have supported employment. So they still get paid, but they get more training and they get more supervision. And the supermarket donates all of the profits from that product to the social enterprise. This came about just through networking. So it's important to speak to local businesses, and you find that you can work in partnership. It's quite a big step from being an organisation that provides advice to disadvantaged people to becoming a social enterprise that's empowering disadvantaged people to make jam. The other thing that they did is they saw a piece of unused land that was next to their allotment, next to their small farm, and they said to the local council, can we have that land? We'd like to build some straw buildings on this land. So straw build is where you use bales of straw as the main building material. They wanted to build houses by hand using local people on this piece of disused land, and then local people could live in those houses. That was their idea. In the end, what happened is a government department in the UK called the Homes and Community Agency offered to give them £3 million to do a big eco-village. So they moved from being an organisation that provided welfare advice to being an organisation that had the leasehold on over 50 homes on a big piece of land. And they became the owner of that piece of land. So it's quite amazing. This is something in the UK that's called asset transfer, when the local government gives an asset like land or buildings to a local company or charity or social enterprise in exchange for achieving and delivering social good. So the social outcomes that their charity can deliver is paying for that piece of land. They bought that piece of land for £1. So again, thinking about this in terms of your sheet, the problem that they had is around creating employment, again, in a deprived area. One of their solutions was to sell jam, and their other solution was to build homes. You know, that's what they decided to do. They created a partnership to build the homes with a local builder, and they pulled in money from national government to make that happen. In this organization, there was only one entrepreneurial individual, which is a chap called Neil Hodgkin, whose picture there is in the middle. Oh, 10 minutes left. Okay, I'll have to move quickly. So, sometimes there just has to be one person who is going to be really bullish and is going to push forward and make things happen. This next one is a charity in Loughborough, which is a small town near Leicester, called the Falcon Support Centre. And this is an organisation that provides support to homeless people. So when somebody's homeless, they take them in, they provide them with training, they provide them with a room, and most of the money that they get comes from benefits that that person can claim in the UK. They diversified into selling clothing. They tried setting up a shop that sold second-hand clothing, and they had a vintage feel for that clothing, and that was called Loft, and that was a small shop in a town selling vintage clothing. And the homeless people went out and they sourced the vintage clothing, they found the clothing, and sometimes they modified it for sale into the shop. Through working in this area, they then got to talking, and they got introduced to Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs that seizes counterfeit clothing. So sometimes when you have someone who's making counterfeit Levi's jeans, for example, they would realize that those jeans are fake, and the customs people would seize those jeans. This charity is then receiving those goods, counterfeit goods. They have to take the label out, and they have to change the jeans so that they don't look like Levi's jeans anymore. So they have two jobs. One is take the labels out, and the other is change it so it no longer looks like the product that it's supposed to be copying. And they're now selling those counterfeit clothes under the brand Muto. So this is a homeless charity that's now starting to become a big clothes distributor and retailer. And they've just got this bus, which you can see there behind them, which is a mobile shop. So they can take that shop to music festivals, and they can sell those counterfeit clothes there. So they're not having to pay anything for those clothes. Homeless people are getting real jobs and training, and they're making that work as a social enterprise. Okay, this one is Jerry, so that's the social enterprise that I work for. Myself and Haroon will be telling you more about Jerry Bottle tomorrow. So the problem that we're solving is that people are living in many places without water. So in many parts of the world, not everybody has a tap. And often people have long walks. When they don't have water, they have to spend their whole day walking to the nearest water source to collect water. And when you're spending your whole day collecting water, because you don't have a tap, that stops you from working, and it can stop your children from going to school. So water is a big problem in some rural areas around the world. So that's the business problem that Jerry is trying to solve, and we're solving that through selling steel water bottles. So this is an example of a social enterprise, and we'll be telling you more about that tomorrow. So let's go back to the sheets on your table then. Who has scribbled all over their sheet and would like to share what they've produced? Who's come up with a winning new social enterprise business model? I can see some people shaking their heads that they don't want to come to the front. Who can tell me what their business problem was that they put in the middle of the page? The community problem that they wanted to solve.
Hi. One of my business lines is a placemaking. Basically, is to revitalize the underutilized public space with some events or some activity. So that's the problem. The current leader in the industry is Think City. For sure, you know, it's funded by Khazanah. But they only focus on the core zone of Georgetown, 1 kilometer buffer zone of MaGIC Jamek, and also JB. But I see it's really a good business for whole Klang Valley to embark on. And why public space should just fall under the federal government to take care of. Actually, we as a citizen as well, we should also exercise our bottom-up governance and also active citizenship to do it together.
Anybody else share what they've produced today? Shall we move on to questions and answers? Does anybody have a question?
Hi, just to ask, could you run us very quickly through how you would fill this? Could you run through this form very quickly, just to see how...
Can I run through the form?
Yeah.
Yeah. So with this form, as you listen to the case studies that I talked about, the idea was that you had something to work on while you were listening to me. So I was asking you, identify a problem, think of something that you can sell to solve that problem. Think of somebody who would be the best possible leader to sell that. So that doesn't have to be you. You can poach, you can hijack the best leader in the world to make that happen. That's the task that I'm giving you. So if you want it to be Bill Gates, you can have Bill Gates, just write that down. Then you need someone to give you some money to make that business work, to have a small amount of seed funding to make that work at the beginning. You can choose a donor. Who would care about that problem that you're solving? You can think of a donor who would want to buy the social impact that you need to deliver to solve that problem. Then you can think of a partner, somebody who can work with you on your business. And we know from the business canvas that you are allowed to have stakeholders delivering some of the key activities of the business and providing some of the key resources. So, for example, with the chap who sold jam, he didn't own the supermarkets. He borrowed a leading supermarket chain in the UK called the Cooperative Supermarket. He didn't have the skills to design a label for the jam. The supermarket did that for him. So you don't have to do everything. You can choose, okay, I can have a partner that will make the product. I can have a partner that will distribute the product. And I was giving you blue sky thinking challenge to think, who would be the best partner in the world to make this business work? And then every business needs somebody who's going to sell the product or the service. And again, for this task, you were allowed to choose anybody you like, the best salesperson in the world. So you could have a celebrity. You could have the most famous person in Malaysia to be the person to sell your product. So that's the task. And do have a go at it. After you've produced one of those, you can then apply a bit of rational thinking to it afterwards. But it's good to give yourself some blue sky thinking, say, okay, I can have anybody to help me. I can have any leader I want. I can have the best leader. I can have the richest person in Malaysia. I can have the biggest supermarket in Malaysia. And I can have the most famous person in Malaysia selling my product or service. So it's just a way to get you thinking.
Okay, hi. This is Ben again. 2 questions regarding Saffron resources, actually.
Yeah.
The first one is because the causes they are fighting for are very close to my heart, people with disability and housing for people. Okay, first question regarding disabled people working in food industry. As far as I'm concerned, there is this concern regarding the safety of the food, as well as these people with disability handling this food. Yeah. So how would people perceive it in the market? Because this is a very new concept locally. That's the first question. Second question is regarding donation. Donation for housing, I understand that just now the straw houses that you actually built in UK are actually using public land. So the question is, how sustainable is this model, and can this model be indefinitely looking for donations? Yeah, these are my 2 concerns.
Okay, so the second question is to do with the buildings and sustainability, and the first question is to do with the jam and health and safety. When you are in a supermarket choosing some jam, there is no label on that jam talking about health and safety. You trust that that's been made to a good standard. The responsibility for that is with the supermarket that's purchased the product and with the manufacturer. So yes, health and safety is an issue that you would need to have covered for selling to the supermarket. You'd need to convince them, but the consumer, they'd just be buying a jar of jam, and they'd say, which jam do I want? The one that does a load of social good, or the one where all the profits go to the shareholders? That's their choice. The second question to do with the housing project, this is sustainable because the charity has got the ground rent from that piece of land forever. That's carrying on year after year. They will get the freehold rent from the land. So that is an ongoing source of income. it's good to own land, it's good to develop assets as a social enterprise. Any more questions?
Hi, sir. My name is Rafe. I'm from Malaysia. So basically, I want to know from UK, SE is considered well established, and so I want to know which significant force or party that play a very big role to make this forward. Like, example is like, is it government
Just
side?
bring the microphone a bit closer so I can hear you.
Yeah. So I want to know what is the significant forces or the parties that make SE forward. Is it government or SE itself or beneficiary or the customer? So from UK experience, I just want to know.
So the question is, who is it that moves the social enterprise
most
forward?
significant force to make SE industry go forward.
The force to make it happen and move it forward. I think it has to be the individual entrepreneur that moves it forward. I think that the government can put into place schemes, training, mentoring, advice, but really it all comes down to an entrepreneur being willing to take a risk. And we heard earlier from Beck that, you know, being a social entrepreneur, there's an awful lot of stress and an awful lot of hard work. It's not for everybody. But it has to be the person that moves it forward. The only person that can take responsibility is you. And if we go back to that mantra that we learned this morning, today and not someday, that shows that the onus is on you to make this happen.
Just a quick question, I hope. Just like to know in the form that you have given us, right in the middle there, the problem. For I think social entrepreneurs, sometimes we have big goals in life, like we want to save the world, we want to stop global warming. But how do you scale it down into something that we can actually tackle, and how do you know where to tackle it from, and what's the most effective way, I guess?
So how do you scale down a problem that's huge, like saving the world, down to something doable?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I think you have to find something that you're really interested in and that you're motivated by. So with the coffee example, I don't know, but I assume, Beck, do you like coffee? Allergic to it. I've worked with someone else in the UK that's making a home roasting machine for coffee, and she doesn't drink coffee. I would encourage you to be an entrepreneur in an area that you really understand and that's something that you really love, to make it doable. And I would also recommend the business model canvas as a tool and design thinking as an approach. So you take a problem, you take a social problem, and you do thousands of iterations. You make loads of canvases, and then you put all those thousands of canvases through a selection process, which is a good business model, and then you start working on the one that comes out on top. So use the business model canvas to break it down